Brexit, Dead in a Ditch, is a 4 to 6 players game. It puts players in the seat of British party leaders during the Brexit debate. During the game, each player competes to get members of parliament in order to push through the Westminster House of Commons their own view of the perfect Brexit deal. Be warned, this game is long, it takes around 4.5 hours to play, and also it is very intense. Being a strongly political game, it works best with a certain level of roleplay. And also be careful, it's negotiation heavy. So you'll get your feelings hurt and tempers might rise. So let's take a look at what's inside the box and how to play the game. When you open the box, you'll be greeted by quite a few elements. Let's go through them one by one. First off, you'll find the different party decks. The parties are cut in 3 different types. The first one, the main political parties, with the Conservatives and with Labour Party. The minor parties, with the Brexit Party and the Liberal Democrats or Lib Dems. And finally, the Northern Irish parties, in which case the Democratic Unionist Party, the DUP, and Sinn Féin. Now let's take a look at what is within a party deck. So first of all, you have 12 campaign cards. With these cards, the different parties will compete against each other in the different constituencies in order to gain popularity. We'll get to that a bit later. The second element are the draft bills. Those draft bills are in fact the policies that your party would like to see put inside the Brexit deal. And finally, you'll find a special spin card. A spin card that is dedicated to your party and that represents a specific element of that party that can be played during the game. So now, the second big deck of cards are, in fact, the spin cards. Spin cards in this game represents the actions that parties can take in order to spin what's happening to gain more popularity or to push the other parties into some bad corners. So this is why each party has their own specific spin card that is specifically tailored for their own party to represent, to add some flavor to what this party can specifically do. The third deck of cards is that of the regions or constituencies. The game is played both in Great Britain and in Northern Ireland. In Northern Ireland, the whole region is cut into 5 different constituencies in which the DUP and Sinn Féin will compete for popularity and members of parliament. Great Britain, however, is cut into 6 big regions, and each of these regions is cut into either 2 or 3 constituencies. In this small deck, you'll also find the Prime Minister card, which is quite important, which grants you specific powers, and also is what every player should strive for during the game, living inside 10 Downing Street. And finally, the last deck of cards is that of the event cards. Now that was for the decks. You'll notice within the box that you'll also find some dry erase markers. 1 per party, because players will use these markers in order to change their popularity directly on the board. You'll also find some tokens that will be used for different reasons on the board. You also find a satchel full of little wooden members of parliament. Each one marked with the number of their constituency. Of course, in this box you will also find the main board on which the campaigns will take place, but also you'll keep track of the turns, of the various topics that the British people want to hear about, and you can sit here comfortably, your little wooden MPs for the votes. You will also find this smaller board, which is the Brexit deal board, on which you will keep track of the Brexit deal as it is formed, with more and more proposals coming into effect within it. It is also on this board that you'll keep track of the victory points that each player will score while putting up proposals within the Brexit deal. And finally, in the box, you will find player aids, one for each party, that reminds players of how a turn is done and a few specific rules as well as their own specific party powers. In this base box you can also find two expansion modules, one of which is this dice that is used to randomize election results, and the second one is used to specifically tailor the game for 5 players, replacing the 2 minor parties with one single independence coalition party that strives to gain independence in either Scotland, London and/or Wales. Now that we've been through all the elements you can find in the box, let's go through the rules and how to play a game. Now that the game is set, let's go through the basic rules. The game takes place in 10 turns, going from April 2019 to the Brexit deal in January 2020. Each of these 10 turns is cut into 4 different phases: the preambulatory phase, the campaign phase, the negotiation phase, and finally the end of turn phase. In the preambulatory phase, the Prime Minister starts by drawing an event card, reading it aloud for everyone, and then applying the effects immediately. Then each player, starting by the Prime Minister and then clockwise, draw 3 spin cards that will constitute their hands that they can play during the turn. Finally, in the preambulatory phase, the Prime Minister can decide either to step down or to call elections. Now, the campaign phase. During the campaign phase, players will compete in different regions in Great Britain or Northern Ireland in order to gain popularity in constituencies and then, in case of election, gain more members of parliament. Sinn Féin and DUP can only play in Northern Ireland, while the Labour Party, Tories, Lib Dem and Brexit Party can only play in Great Britain. For that phase, each player has a hand of 6 campaign cards. They will play 1 card in each of the regions. So the 6 regions in Great Britain: London, South, West, East, Scotland and Wales, or the 5 regions in Northern Ireland, which are actually constituencies: Belfast, Antrim, Armagh Down, Derry, Londonderry and Tyrone. Once players have put their campaign cards in each region, all the campaign cards are revealed and then duels ensue. First we start with the minor parties dueling each other, then the main parties, and in Northern Ireland just duel Sinn Féin and the DUP. A duel goes as follows. You compare the value of each player's card, and the player with the highest value wins the duel, and they win the amount of popularity that is the difference between each cards. Let's take for example London. In London, Brexit Party has played their +0 card. The Lib Dems have played their -10 card. So, Brexit Party wins the duel, and they win by a difference of 10%, so they gain 10% in one of the 2 constituencies of the London region. Then, Labour has played their -20 card, while Tories have played their +10 cards. So Tories win the duel, and they win by a difference of 30%. So they win 30% popularity in a constituency of the London region. Now the reason why minor parties are played before main parties is that they apply the effects in one constituency, and the main parties cannot apply their effects, their gains, in the same constituency as a minor party has. In this example, the Brexit Party decided to gain 10% in London East. So, in the same example, the Tories can only gain their 30% in London West. A small note. Minor parties start by gaining popularity from the party of their own side before attacking the popularity of the other side. The Brexit Party gains popularity from right to left, starting by eating popularity of the Tories, then Labour, and maybe later Lib Dems. And the Lib Dems is the other way round. They start by eating the popularity of the Labour from left to right, then the Tories, and maybe then the Brexit Party. Players do the same thing in Northern Ireland, apply the result, and change the popularity in each constituency. Once the campaign phase is over, players go on to the negotiation phase. In the negotiation phase, starting by the Prime Minister and then in an order set by who the Prime Minister is, players can propose a draft bill to the floor. Those draft bills are then voted on in the order they were proposed. Players can then either vote A in favor of the proposal or nay against the proposal. If a proposal passes the vote, it goes onto the Brexit deal. If it is rejected, it is discarded and effects are applied. The votes continue on until either there are no more proposals left to vote on or the current Brexit stage has been completed. Sometimes, negotiation phases can be replaced by elections. Elections function as does the British political system, so with the first past the post system. For an election, simply look in each constituency which party has the most popularity, and this party wins the seat. Once the negotiation phase is over, players go on to the end of turn phase, turn in which they renew their hand of campaign cards and have to discard a certain amount of spin cards because they cannot keep more than 2 in hand. Then you place the turn tracker to the next month and go to the second turn, and so forth. Now a quick word about those tracks. Those are popular pressure tracks. They show the extent to which the British public wants to hear about a specific issue. And so they will go up or down during the game as the game evolves with events or proposal cards. Keep in mind that the degree to which those tracks are high or low will have an effect on how to conduct the negotiation phase. For example, forcing players to submit proposals on one specific topic if it's high enough on the track. There are as well 2 specific popular pressure tracks for a second referendum on Brexit and for new elections. Because elections don't just appear, they are called for by the Prime Minister if the circumstances forces him to call them. The game ends either at the end of the 10th turn or if the Brexit deal is completely completed. The player who has the most victory points wins the game. While it is the common victory condition to simply have the most victory points at the end of the game, keep in mind that Labour and Lib Dems can win together in case of a second referendum that goes against Brexit. Sinn Féin can win the game immediately if at any time Ireland is reunified. And also the Brexit Party is the only party who wins if by the end of the 10 turns no Brexit deal has been found. Currently, what you see is the final prototype form of the game. It still has no publisher, so if you are interested to publish the game or simply to try it out, please be sure to contact me on the address that is right here or in the description of the video. If you want to read the rules further, see all the flavor in the game, please be sure to go on the Board Game Geek page. If you want to try the game out, you can go on the Steam workshop for Tabletop Simulator, in which you will find this game as Brexit Dead in a Ditch. If you have any comments, be sure to leave it here or contact me to this address. You can also follow the Facebook page of the game. Brexit Dead in a Ditch. Brexit Dead in a Ditch